Hi everyone, how are you guys tonight? Happy Thursday everyone. You guys, the weekend is almost here. My name is Brandy. I am the owner and artist behind Brushed by Brandy, and we paint here live with you guys every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we are going to do some, actually we're going to do some decorating tonight, but we're going to use some different products. Kind of a mixed media project almost. You guys, my husband Sean is here behind the camera to answer any questions as we go, so pop on and ask any questions that you have. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I hope I can cover it all in a short period of time. So what we're working on tonight is actually last week we put paint on a high chair, a vintage high chair. And this is the tray for the high chair that I've got right here. And I'm going to show you guys how I personalize a furniture piece, okay? So the first thing that I'm doing here is we're going to work on, I'm going to add a lot of decoration. This is just the tray. I've got this painted. This is Chalky Chicks furniture paint is what we used last week. This is by Two Chicks and a Tool Belt. I do not know what this big black mark is on my hand, but if I get that on something, I'm going to freak out. Okay, let me get this off. Thank you. It's like oil. Okay, sorry, I just noticed I had a black smudge on my hand. Yeah, I might have touched, I have my hydraulic lift table underneath me, and I might have touched the workings of it. Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is on this high chair, I'm going to add, it's for a baby, and it's for a baby gift, and it's mostly intended to be decorative. So maybe like, you know, a photo prop they could do their cake smash in. This is not intended to be his everyday high chair. It's going to sit in the corner of the room, kind of just be a tribute to this very special baby. And so I'm adding his name and all his birth information to the tray of the high chair. And let me show you guys how I did that. I started out by using my Silhouette vinyl cutter. So a Cricut, I have a Silhouette, which is there are slight differences between the two, but so I cut pieces of vinyl, okay? And they come out looking like this. It's solid sheet vinyl, and I cut it. I am no expert on my Silhouette. I know just enough basically to print some words on it, and that's about it. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to add this last piece on here, and then we're going to put his name on this tray. So what I like to use, I need to take this adhesive off of the backing paper. It's basically a sticky paper that I made this stencil with. And I like to use good old-fashioned painter's tape. And the older the piece, the better. If you're just taking it off the roll, you want to kind of de-stick it. And I just will stick it to my clothes like this to take some of the stick off.
Okay.
This is a piece that I've used quite a bit, so it's perfect. It's nice and old, and I'm going to stick it right over the top of my letters, just like this. Okay, and once I've got it over the top, it's got this backing on the back of the vinyl, and I need to remove that backing. It's just like a sticker.
That's right, Sarah. Just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, just enough to be dangerous. I mean, so here's how I feel. Like there's all these different mediums out there that you can learn, right? There's, you know, the stuff you can do on a Cricut or a Silhouette is amazing. You can go learn oil painting. You can, and I dabble in everything. And I don't know, I'm probably an expert in none. But that could be a whole, sorry guys, I'm trying to unhook this adhesive backing from this paper. I need a clear coat. Can you get me that? Is there any of that Daydream that you were using tonight? There we go. Okay, so I know a little bit of everything, but probably an expert in none. Probably painting is the closest I get to any area of expertise. So I'm going to slowly peel away this backing paper. And I weeded this a little bit. Weeding means I pulled out any of the excess pieces of my vinyl just so I didn't have to weed it on camera. Normally I do not weed it. Until
what weeding means for me around here.
Yeah, sorry, we've been working in the yard a lot. A lot. Grocery prices are expensive. We needed a garden. So usually I don't weed this until I have it off and onto the piece, but I didn't want to do all of my weeding of the vinyl on camera because it does take a long time. So I weeded some beforehand. And so I have to do this more carefully now. But trust me, it's faster than the weeding process is. Okay, so now I've got this off. That's just the backing sheet is off. I'm not going to need this piece of tape again. So now I'm going to find my placement on this high chair tray. And I'm going to roughly center it. And once I get this off, I'll show you guys what my tray looks like. Okay, so right about there I think is my placement. I'm going to press it down, and then I'm going to take my painter's tape and I'm going to hold my vinyl down and I'm going to roll that painter's tape off and press my vinyl down at the same time. And thankfully, this is the last thing I need this piece of painter's tape for. I use the same tape for the whole way through. And then I'm going to go through, can you grab me a razor blade from somewhere?
From somewhere?
Your pocket?
Just from anywhere.
Okay, and so, but I've still got some of my letters that I left in because I wanted to show you how I weeded them out. Yeah, that'll work.
It is a razor.
Well, it's super not sharp. I need to break the end of it off.
Do you need me to do that for you?
I've got a little piece right here that's stuck on that didn't cut all the way.
Hey, Fireball June.
Hey, Fireball June. Shout out to Fireball June. I used painter's tape tonight. Every time I use painter's tape, I think of you. It's weird, I know. Okay, and this is a weeding tool. It's just got sharp ends on both, and I'm going to pull out the last of my letters here. There's going to be lots of up close tonight. Sean's going to probably hate this project. It's a smaller project, and it's more, I think this is more of a mixed media project. We're going to be using a whole bunch of different materials on here. Some resin, some colored pencil. Obviously, I'm using my vinyl. But all these are different mediums that you can employ in really personalizing a piece of furniture. And this is just about as personal as it gets. So I used the little hook.
I like your
Plaque Removal tool. And I just pulled out the last of my little letters of vinyl. And I'm just going to...
What's your hook tool called? Plaque Removal?
Yeah, yeah, it's a dental tool. Yeah. And now I can go and I can still scrape out those hard to reach places on my teeth. Okay, so all that's done. I've got all my lettering on here, and it's got baby's name, birth date, and birth weight on here. So you can tell it's kind of meant to be more of a sentimental piece.
All right, I'm cutting you out of the picture.
As usual. All right, so what I'm going to use to put these letters on here is I'm going to use, can you hand me that? And then I need a little paintbrush.
Of course, that's what you're going to do. Okay, I got to keep adjusting.
I'm sorry, I need a lot of stuff.
Yeah, what now? Your tray?
Just any little paintbrush in that bin. Yep.
Oh, that's that okay?
Not that one. No, I'm just kidding.
Mother!
Any little paintbrush except that one. And then the Daydream that you just got.
Come on now!
I can't reach it. All right, I make sure I go through, and I'm just going to make sure that this is all pressed down.
Would you like me to hold that for you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I want to seal off the edges because I want this to be an ultra clean stencil. So whenever I'm stenciling and I have an adhesive stencil like this, I'm going to take a little bit of clear coat. This is Daydream Apothecary Dream Coat, and I'm just going to brush that over the top of my letters. And anything that bleeds through underneath these letters is going to bleed through as the clear coat. This means that the paint that I'm going to use over top will not bleed through.
Amazing.
And make messy lines around my stencil. So I do this if I'm painting stripes. I do this a lot because you use painter's tape. It has to be something adhesive. It wouldn't work so well if you were doing just a regular stencil because it doesn't sit as tight with your surface. You need to kind of have that tight bond. You need to be close.
Wait, what are we using?
Tight knit. This is Daydream Apothecary's Dream Coat. But
I'd say Tight Bond and not use Tight Bond.
Oh, Tight Bond. I'm sorry. Shout out to Tight Bond. This is just the clear coat that I had out because for Chalky Chicks I actually have a wax from them, and that wax wouldn't work. This does need to be a clear coat. And this is the most recent one that I use. I am loving Daydream Apothecary's Dream Coat, by the way. And a big testament for me was, you guys can try this out yourself. I got it on my hands and I went and I took a shower. I'm not kidding you. I must have had Dream Coat on my hands for like 2 days straight. That stuff sticks. So that, you know, those little kind of anecdotal things are always big testaments to me when I can see the performance of a product. That was just this week. All right, so I'm just going over all of my letters with my clear coat, and this is an adhesive. It's going to dry pretty quick because this only needs to be a fairly thin layer. But I do want to make sure that I get around all the edges. Okay, and that way anything, even if you don't, if it looks like it's seated super tight, sometimes you don't notice. And this will just give you that perfectly clean stencil lines. Okay, so I've gone over all my stencil. I'm going to put my clear coat to the side and my brush.
So how is that clear coat over dark paint?
Well, I spray my clear coats. So I spray my clear coats. The best ways, if you guys want to get flawless finishes over dark colors without streakiness,
say it.
Spray it. Spray it. Don't say it, spray it.
Oh, you picked up on that.
Spray your clear coats if you can. It's not an option for everyone. I understand not everybody has a sprayer, but I spray all my clear coats. I'm going to blow this and let it dry a little bit.
Thank you. It's warm over here. I appreciate that.
I want to cool you guys down a little bit. The other option is there's a few tricks for getting clear coats streak free on dark colors. You can tint your clear coat with just a little bit of your dark color paint. If it's a solid color paint color or paint finish, you can tint your clear coat. Just a couple drops of paint is all it takes to tint. If you over tint your clear coat, it actually ends up being more matte and chalky like the paint. So you just need a few drops. You can tint it and that will help it go on streak free. Roll your clear coats. Don't brush them, roll them, and you're less likely to get streaks. You will get mild texture out of a roller, but even that mild texture can be better than streaks from brushing.
You know, when you're adding, I'll just put my 2 cents in and get some change back. But when you're going to add a little paint to it, a little coloring, it's almost like comparing to food coloring where it's just a drop or two. It's very little that you have to put in.
Yeah, it is. You'll be surprised. You just put a couple drops in, like not even a teaspoon most
of
the time.
Amy, how dare you? I thought this was for the new baby.
Oh no.
No.
No, I don't like my sister that much. I'm doing a whole bunch of pieces.
We got tons of projects going.
I'm doing a whole bunch of pieces for my sister. I'm doing this toy chest for her, and she has another cedar chest for the baby too. So my sister's well taken care of. Okay, and then I'm going to do some stenciling on here, and I was kind of on the fence, so maybe you guys can help me with which color I wanted to stencil in. Either this is Redesign with Prima chalk paste, which is amazing, and the two colors I have are called Vintage Lace, which is this kind of creamy white color, or Sand, which is a soft yellow. I am leaning towards the white, I think. I'm leaning towards the white. And I'll tell you why, because I have yellow on the high chair and it's a little bit different than this shade and I don't want them to clash. So let's use the white.
Hey, Emily.
Hey, Emily.
So what kind of roller do you suggest as far as doing a top coat?
Okay, I like flocked rollers, but can you turn around? Just turn around. I just don't want to see you right now. That's all.
You want my best attribute, apparently?
No, right behind you.
Okay.
By the red stool right there. See that green box? Hand me that green box.
No, I don't see it. Can you get it?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
This one? Oh, let me get that.
Okay. I just got these rollers and I haven't used them yet, but just by the feel of them, I think they're going to be amazing. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used these. These are from Stallmeister. And I love their brushes. Stallmeister brushes are gorgeous, gorgeous brushes. I only have a few of them, but I love them. And they have rollers. And they're, let's see, it's kind of there's a nap on them.
Oh, a nap.
Micro felt. Micro felt is what they're calling it. It's super soft. Like you kind of want to like rub your face on it without makeup on. So I think these could be a really good option too, although don't quote me because I haven't tried it yet, but Stallmeister rollers I think are going to be amazing. Wiz flocked rollers have that same level of softness to them. That's why I think I'm going to like that.
Say that 10 times fast.
Okay, so my chalk paste is We'll try it out.
Is it like shoe polish?
Yeah, this one's old. I don't know if I can use it. Oh, this one's okay. I have another white. Hang on. Let me grab my other white.
Oh,
I'm not even going to try to make Sean find it because he'll be gone for 2 hours.
Yeah. I'll take the car and take a trip.
Okay. I must not have had the lid on all the way on that one for some reason because all my other ones are fine. I just used some last night and it was fine. Yeah, this one looks okay. Okay, so chalk paste comes and it's got this lid on it that seals it off. This is the part I think wasn't on all the way. And it's like a creamy paint, okay? It's not gonna come out of there. It's a paste, but it's chalk paint in a paste form. So let me put this color right away and we'll use this other one. I'm gonna try to revive this if I can. Put a little bit of water in it maybe. Okay. I like to apply my chalk paste using, this is one of the Redesign with Prima spread pals. Spread pals, it's like your pal, like your friend. And they're silicone spatula tools, and I'm just gonna take a little bit, I don't even need that much. And my clear coat is nice and dry, and I'm gonna scrape this over my stencil now. This is amazing stuff because it's thicker than your paint, and so paint tends to bleed on a stencil because it's a thin formula, you know, water, right? Water intrusion in your house, it tends to find every crack and crevice to go into. Same thing anytime you're working with a liquid, but in a paste form, the paint will stay where it's meant to stay. And so I am just going to go through and I'm going to scrape it on. It's like doing a raised stencil, but in a really small format. I'm getting right up to the edge of my stencil with my spread pal. I don't want to go over because I don't want to get this onto my surface. Got a little edge right here that I need to cut off, but I'll just move it. It's like doing a raised stencil. So what was it last week we did raised stenciling? Yeah, it was.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. She sent stars. I think she just wants to.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. She doesn't. That's not what she wants.
Yep. And then Emily wants to know if we're excited to go to the UK.
Oh my gosh, Emily. I'm excited and nervous. We had to make a list of stuff for ourselves to do before we go. Like,
and my list was just to have Brandy do everything.
Well, your list was get a passport. Like the one thing I can't do for you. Sean didn't even have a passport.
Can't even get a sub.
So hopefully that gets approved. Hopefully they don't find.
Oh, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out if Sean's allowed to travel out of the country.
One hell of a track record.
I had gotten my passport before COVID because I was supposed to do a bunch of traveling before COVID hit, and then that all fell apart. But Sean didn't have a passport. We haven't been out of the country since, gosh, Mexico? What was that, 20 years ago? We went to Mexico and then we decided, wait, we like just going to Hawaii, so we'll just go to Hawaii.
So what's this product you're using again?
This is Redesign with Prima chalk paste. And it comes in a whole bunch of different colors. But it's a thick, here, I'll pull some out of here. It's a thick paste. And it's awesome for stenciling. This is their white. It will dry just like a paint, has a nice chalky feel to it. So it looks just like your paint does.
Emily, absolutely right. At least they speak the same language.
This is true. Well, we are going to Paris and so I'm a little nervous about that, but that's what Google Translate is for, right? We had an exchange student a couple of years ago and we used Google Translate with him. He spoke Chinese.
What the hey?
What?
Will Sean's middle name be on his passport?
We had a whole conversation.
Come on now!
Because we had to dig out the birth certificate, right? And
I'm here for entertainment.
I said, Sean, if that appears on your passport, it's officially over. That is your middle name. So we will see. Do you guys want to
drum roll?
Do you guys want to start taking wagers on how his passport shows up, whether it has that on there?
Oh
man. I will be so curious if they include it or not.
What? No other document ever obtained has that.
All it takes.
Oh, is, Emily, we'll discuss that another time.
All it takes is one employee who's a little, too proud of their job, a little overly cautious.
Oh man, Sorry, I almost fell over.
All right, I'm gonna.
Emily is curious. We'll just talk about that at another time.
No, you gotta tell. You can't just say that.
No.
All right, you guys want to know what Sean's middle name is?
No, it's only. Come on, I'm really racking up points here.
Emily matters too.
Yeah.
Emily counts. On Sean's birth certificate.
How's that paint treating you?
Sean does not have a middle name.
How about that dental tool you're using? How's that doing?
So I'm gonna peel.
How's it going?
I'm gonna peel my stencil off now. Okay, I just put my chalk paste on. I just did one coat. Sometimes you need two, depending on what color you're using. But I feel good with one coat on this. I'm gonna peel my stencil away. He doesn't have.
You're doing really good at this.
He doesn't have a middle name.
I just want to point
So
that out.
that's my adhesive stencil that I made with my vinyl cutter. Okay, I'm gonna get the second piece off.
Oh, Denise says you need to keep that in the fridge.
Oh, my chalk paste?
Yes.
Does it say that? I've never actually read the package on there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, yeah, it probably would. Huh, it says, that's funny. It actually has a picture on it that says 0 to 14 years, and it's got like a line through it with a baby. Like, children can't use this.
Claudia just became my BFF, I'm just saying. Whatever my license says, his passport has to match.
Oh, that's true.
That's right.
His birth certificate...
Is it a whole nother story? How's this whole situation treated?
Instead of leaving the line blank for his middle name, his mom wrote out the word N-O-N-E.
It's not my mom's handwriting. It's not my mom's handwriting.
It says N-O-N-E. It says the word.
I think it's funny. It's not like they give it to the dad. They're like, here, you just pushed out this human being. You should fill this out. But it is not my mom's writing.
Okay, we'll give your mom the benefit of the doubt.
I can't blame her.
Because we don't know, and she's not around to ask. But someone, instead of just leaving it blank or
appreciate you,
not applicable.
Let's move on.
Actually wrote out the word none.
It does not say human pinata. Let's move on to the next thing, shall we?
Sean loves that. He's so proud.
Yes.
So when we were naming our children, I was like, do we name them a family name or So our children all have an actual middle name just to prevent.
Less talky, more worky.
It's worth it to just give your kids a middle name just so you have something to fill on that line.
Oh man, thanks Emily. I appreciate you.
What'd you say?
She's gonna show up to the live saying hi, Brandy, and none.
Okay, so now I'm pulling out little things like the center of my O's. So I do this on.
You know what else has an O in it? Come on. Come on. If I pick on people, I gotta be able to take it.
I'm thinking. What else has an O in it?
None.
What else?
My middle name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said what else?
Well, no, because you were talking about the O. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to give me something else other than that.
You know what?
Because we all know that already.
Obviously, the people that are typing it out know that.
So I don't know. Any experts that work in government offices? What do you guys have? I mean, you must have seen that before. And
it's okay if you don't respond.
Yeah, if so, do you guys just ignore it, or
if you don't respond, I might just appreciate you a little.
Do you have to go through and like pay attention to it?
Man.
So
Sherry. Yeah.
Anyone work for any federal offices?
Oh, I know, Emily. It's actually just by a couple years. She said I'm legally old enough to change it.
Yeah, since your 18th,
waiting.
Your 18th birthday just happened?
Yep. And the scroll that you're using. Where did you get that scroll?
Well, we are going to cover that tonight too. The scroll that I'm using, I drew. And I used colored pencils. So while I'm weeding these last couple of pieces, so when the only art classes I've ever taken were in high school and middle school. Like, that's the extent of my art training. But when I did take art classes, the medium that I was always drawn to was colored pencils. I like working in pencil. So I have a lot of really nice colored pencils. And you can use these other mediums on furniture too. So if you like oil paints, if you like watercolors, if you like alcohol inks, all these different mediums are different things that you can pull out and use on furniture too. So what she's talking about is I took my colored pencils, and I'm actually going to fill in a little bit around my stenciling. We're going to do a little bit more pencil work tonight in colored pencils. So the type of pencils that I like to use are Prismacolor Pencils. This is a graphite pencil set, but I've got a whole bunch of colored pencils from them.
So
too.
let me take you a quick step back. The paste that you used, it gives it a raised.
Yeah, it does have a
base.
lightly raised texture to it. It's lightly raised. I only did one coat on this, and I'm actually going to give it a light sanding too before I put my coating on here. So that's going to take it down, and then it's just got a little bit of raised edge on it. I'm actually going to coat this in resin, so by the time I'm done, you won't even know that that was raised above the surface. So yes, it does leave a lightly raised feeling. Okay, so I colored in different shades of brown. These are pencils that are not in a case. I have a whole bunch that are in a case, but I took and I drew it out and I colored it in colored pencils. And they chalk paint is a beautiful base for colored pencil. I've done this on a few pieces. I'll post kind of a compilation of pieces that I've used colored pencil on. And then the only thing I really recommend to you is have a good eraser. If you're going to try colored pencils on your chalk paint, make sure this is from Prismacolor 2. This is their Magic Rub eraser, and it's a white eraser made for pencil. So if I needed to erase a spot, it really doesn't mark my paint. Don't use like your kids, pink eraser from the back of their pencil. It doesn't work the same.
Quick question. How many shades of gray do you have?
Just enough. Just enough. Okay, so I'm going to come in, and now that I've got my stencil in here, and I'm going to color in a little bit around with my white pencil, just so it looks like it's made around the lettering. I want it to kind of look like really customized. So I'm just adding a little bit of white pencil that fills in around the edges of my lettering. I'm being careful not to touch my lettering because it's still wet right now. I'm using a really light hand, and I'm just shading in around the edges of my lettering with my pencil.
Oh, thank you, Emily. She says I'm so creative. Oh, that's you. You're so creative.
Yeah, well, Sean, I'm always blown away. We were sitting last night watching, I don't know, our Guilty Pleasure show. You guys, we all have those, right? That? You want me to admit what it is? Because you watch it with me, so it means that people are
well, it was on TikTok.
Well, yeah. The kids were in bed, and we do watch 90 Day Fiancé because I feel like it's really educational.
Yeah.
And I was drawing this last night, and so I always wonder what he's thinking, if he thinks I'm crazy, like sitting on the couch drawing on furniture. Okay,
that's why I think you're crazy.
So all I'm doing is I'm kind of coloring in between the lines of text, just so it looks like it fits in that spot perfectly. I just added a little bit of my white pencil in there. Other than that, I feel like it's pretty well done. I drew that all before I put my stencil on. And then I kind of offset my scroll, and I'm going to add this guy on here. This is the Redesign with Prima Hello Baby transfer, and this is a lion.
That's a tiger.
It's a liger?
I just said it's a tiger because I made a noise. It's a liger. Okay, Napoleon.
This was the request for this high chair, was to have zoo animals on here. So this tiger, this lion is perfect, and he's a good size. So I'm going to go ahead and cut him out, and I'm going to show you guys how to seam a transfer right down the middle, because he does have a seam in the middle of his head.
Oh, Lisa Willette is on.
Hey, Lisa!
Well, Lisa Willette Flower.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
If you would have said that, I would have been like, who?
Yeah. What the?
Me and Sean both used to work with Lisa. I worked with Lisa at the state of California, and you worked with her at...
And then she had more fun because she worked with me at Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Okay. So he comes in two pieces. He got decapitated. I don't know what happened. I've never asked. It's probably a story there. But we're going to seam him together on my piece. So when I'm seaming a transfer together, I'm going to cut off this bottom right here. right up to the base of the print because there is a halo around this transfer. Okay, can you see the clear outline? I'm going to cut that halo off right up to that print line, and I'm even going to catch a little tiny part of the print when I'm doing this.
It was all holy-like, and now you're just going to ruin it.
Because when this is printed, you know when you're running a printer, the print tends to be a little heavier on the edges.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Okay, so I just cut right up to, I mean, like, you can't even see on there what I cut off. And I'm going to do the same thing on his body, right up to the edge of that print.
If only it was that easy to lose weight.
And I'm just cutting super slow and super straight. Anytime I seam a transfer together, I always do this. Cut that halo off, and if there's a thick print line right there, cut that off too. It will make it so much easier to seam together.
Fireball June. She's banned for life from Wells Fargo. Not sure I want to know.
Yeah. John worked there for a long time. I worked at Wells Fargo for a long time. Wells Fargo paid for my college. They put me through college. Okay, and I'm going to find my placement on here. So I kind of want him to overlap a little bit onto my scroll, but I don't want him to cover up any of my lettering. So I want him to just carry over so it all looks like it's one piece. I'm kind of thinking something like this will be what my tray looks like.
Where's the tiger going?
The liger. So I'm going to take this down. You'll see in a minute why I have this raised up, but I'm going to take this down just because I need to rub this transfer. I'm going to put my pencils away. And I'm just going to use the transfer tool that comes in the package with
They may have put
transfer.
you through school, but they put Lisa through hell.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. Well, I worked there while I was in college. And at the time they paid tuition. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll stay. If you guys are paying, I'm staying. Okay, I'm going to make sure I've got my placement right. His mane is going to wrap the edge a little bit. I'd like as much of his body to stay on the tray as I can get. So probably right about here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with his head and I'm going to peel that backing off. And then I'm going to run this right up onto my scroll.
Of course you are.
I told you this is a lot of detail work tonight. Okay, right there. So it covers the edge of my scroll, but it's not covering any of my lettering.
It's go time.
And now I've committed. Once I rub it with that stick, I've kind of committed. So I'm going to rub over the entire face of my transfer, and then let's do an edge right here. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to press it with my fingers. There's a little curve in this tray for my high chair. So I'm going to rub it on the flat part of the curve, and then I'm going to hold it down and rub this front edge while I hold it. The transfer is going to automatically want to pop away from the backing sheet when I've got it going on a curve like this. I've got to look at it at the same time.
Oh,
Sorry.
come on now. That's just an angle.
Okay, once I wrap the curve, because that's an abnormal way for that plastic to go, it's going to want to pop up. If you can't get it to make that bend, you can put a slice. Pretend you had sharp scissors to actually cut anything. But you can slice your backing sheet, and then it will take a bend easier. Okay, but that one was just a small piece, so it took that bend fine. And now I'm going to come and start taking this plastic backing off of the face. This goes pretty easy. You shouldn't need to rub a transfer, you know, continuously rubbing it. Pull this backing sheet up as you go, and it's going to naturally want to stick to your piece. You don't need to rub and rub and rub and rub and rub. And then when I get to the end, I want to make sure that this doesn't want to come up with the backing sheet, so I just press it down with my finger as I pull that piece up. And now I'm going to rub around the edges with my finger, just to make sure they're all seated down and that it wraps the edge.
That's nice.
All right, he looks good, but now he kind of needs a body. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I have an idea where this is going to sit. And because I cut this edge off, it's not going to overlap. It's going to butt up against, right up into that top piece. That's why you want to be careful making that cut. It is not uncommon, even doing this, that you will be able to tell where the seam is.
Sherry likes the color of your explosion on your apron.
Thanks, that's Daydream Apothecary. I shook it and the lid was not on. So let's see. That's one of Llewellyn's colors. Was it Llewellyn's? Oh, you know what? It might be Anissa's color. I can't remember now. Is that Four Boys Blue? It might be Four Boys Blue. Okay, it is not uncommon that when you seam a transfer together, it's still visible. You cannot expect that it's going to be completely invisible, that no one will ever be able to tell that seam is there. It's still a seam. So if you really are unhappy with the seam, you can take a little bit of paint, and it can be an acrylic craft paint, it can be one of your chalk paints, and you can just paint over that line to hide the seam on your transfer. But for the most part, that's about as good as you're going to get if you butt the pieces up into each other instead of overlapping. If you overlap them and have a halo right there, it's going to make it even more visible.
Huh. Gigi says she got a Blossom Flight transfer the other day, but it took so long to get it to stick.
Let's see, there can be
out of like 40, I'm reading this from a crazy angle, by the way. But maybe 40 transfers, it's only the second time it's ever happened.
There could be a couple of things. Temperature matters with transfers. If there's any moisture in your paint, a transfer will not want to take. Trying to think what else can make a transfer not go. Those are probably the biggest ones, is temperature and if you have any moisture in your paint. And then I'm just going to take a soft cloth and I'm going to burnish over this transfer. I'll tell you what, guys, that seam is probably about as good as a seam gets on a transfer, and I'll hold this up and show you guys in a minute. But I'm going to go over the entirety of this transfer, and I'm just making sure that any air bubbles in between my surface and my transfer are pressed out. I'm just using a soft cloth. In this case, it's a white t-shirt, a microfiber cloth. Prima makes a buffing pad that works. Okay, and here is where I am on my tray. How cute is that? It's cute, huh? Okay, so I've got my lion on here, my liger. I did my color pencil work. I did my stenciling. I think this is all that I want on here. I kind of toyed with, do I want to put like a flower up here? But it's for a little boy, and so I'm kind of hesitant to overdo the transfer work on here. I kind of want to keep it with just the lion and the scroll, I think. So I want to seal this in resin. So we are going to do a resin pour over this tray.
This is super cool.
Okay, resin, there are certain types of resin that are and are not food safe. This is intended to just be a mostly decorative piece. It doesn't particularly need to be eaten on every day. So I'm not particularly worried about that, but if you are, just make sure that you have a food safe resin. Okay, I'm going to lightly sand over my chalk paste. That's nice and dry now. No bumpy edges on that. That feels good. Can you give me some painter's tape?
Huh. Karen says she loves it. She used many of these parts on a transfer, or of the transfer, for a growth board.
Yes, well, here's what's so cool.
Sorry guys for my
the lid for this?
misreading, reading in crazy angle.
So the Hello Baby transfer has a whole bunch of pieces in it. This is the same one, you guys, that I made those growth charts with. So I'm still working on just one transfer I'm going to get, and I still have, I don't know where the... Oh, there.
The growth chart?
I still have all these pieces left. So this is one transfer that I'm going to get like 5 projects out of. So whenever people are like, you know, transfers are pricey, it's never just one project, a transfer. I always have multiple projects on my transfers. All right, this is going to take a little bit of time, you guys, so stick around if you want to see it. I am going to put my hair back because I'm going to work with resin. And somehow I always tend to find it in like odd places. So the first thing I'm going to do, I think it's dry, but you can have it in a minute if you want to check it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover around the back all of my edges with painter's tape.
Taking you out of the picture. I know.
You're taking me out? Like a dream come true?
I don't date married women. What's the resin you're using?
I'm going to use Amazing Clear Cast Plus. And I like Amazing Clear Cast Plus because it has UV protection, so it's less likely to yellow over time. If you're looking for a food safe option, Stone Coat. Stone Coat is a kitchen countertop resin system. It's the sister company of Alumilite, which is the resin that I use. They're the same. They have the same parent company, same manufacturing company, makes both. But that's their kitchen product line. So that could be an option.
Oh, Diana, you're right. I just haven't met her. She said I should date my wife once in a while.
Thank you. That was actually really nice. See?
Oh, don't get me wrong.
You guys see what I have to deal with?
The quick way gets me in trouble quite often.
Okay, and then I'm going to take... I need an actual razor blade, not this garbage knife that... This is one of those knives where you have to pop off the end.
Not one of those where your late husband got you?
You know I have 58,000 razor blades right here.
No, I don't.
But over there...
I never use your razor blades.
Over there is fine too. Well, they're the ones that I stick in these bins so that when you go digging through them, you have to watch your fingers.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. With the Band-Aid patch sitting right next to it.
Yeah. Never dig through anything in my workspace because there's probably a razor blade in it. This one will work. And then now
Lois says she hears Johnny Depp's available.
Oh, yeah. And
Hey,
so is Amber Heard.
Yeah, well,
she's
I'm
going to
good.
be available
Yeah.
for a while, I think.
I don't need crazy.
Okay, I'm going to tip my blade at like a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to cut. I just made that edge of painter's tape around the edge, and I'm going to cut all the excess painter's tape off.
Cutting like everything.
No, it's still on there.
There's no fun in that. Sherry says, and not Dutch either. As far as taking you out.
Yeah, we could go Dutch. It all comes from the same bank account, right?
Same source.
Oh, this razor blade sucks.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I actually just bought a brand new package of them.
Did you really?
In my drawer. Yeah, because I was like, I hate using sucky razor blades like this one.
How does that treat you?
Yeah,
Are you the best knife ever?
No, I don't.
It's way sharper.
Did you find them?
No, it didn't.
I'll try this. Just make sure it's really sharp, guys. I'm trying to cut this.
Can't make promises that the blade doesn't need to be turned around, by the way. How is it?
Better.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
What the
If
heck?
it works, it should just slice right through the painter's tape.
Why does that have a long blue tail on it?
Did you do that?
Yeah. I'm resourceful like that. You know why?
I know.
So you can just.
So I can put it in my back.
You can just pull it out.
I pull it in my back. I put it in my back pocket, and it's easier to grab because it's sticking out like an antenna. Huh? Follow
Okay,
me for
that's how it should work.
more tips and tricks.
Like your fashion tips the other day. I saw that. I unfollowed ASAP.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't think I like your attitude.
That's a first.
That I've told you.
Okay, and then this is going to give me painter's tape under the bottom of my tray. That's exactly the right shape for my tray.
And Lisa, for good reason, I'm sure. She's not allowed to have any sharp objects.
I'll show you guys the underside of this as soon as I'm done cutting this.
What are we talking about?
Okay, the sharp blade worked much better, guys. Make sure your blade is sharp.
Just give me
That works really good.
You push the thing
Okay.
down.
Oh, yeah, catch!
Here.
Our version of lawn darts.
You push the thing down. And
No, it's
Okay, so
because
I've got
used it
painter's
outside.
tape all the way around the edge of my tray. Although
There's a
little
landscape
part right
fabric. It gets stuck in there. Little rocks and dirt.
There's a piece right here I'm not happy with.
You need the knife back.
Nope, because that was already curved. Like I think I might have pulled it off by accident. All right.
Oh, Marilyn does have a question for you.
She raising her hand?
Are you losing weight? You look thinner.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I'll be totally honest with you guys. I don't weigh myself on purpose because I think it just makes it worse. Like I'd rather not know. So I just let my pants be the judge. If they fit, they fit. If they don't, I get bigger ones.
Or you just don't wear any?
Yeah, yeah. Or I get overalls.
Would you wear everything?
Okay, more than likely, even wearing gloves, at some point, I'm going to find resin on my hands, okay?
Ooh.
Put oil on
Okay.
your hands. It can be Vaseline. I'm using Wisel Furniture Salve. Yet another use I like for furniture salve. And I'm just going to rub it on my hands like lotion. Pick a scent that you like, because it's going to smell like that on your hands. This is hemp oil based, so you can put it on your skin. But Vaseline works too. Just put some kind of oil on your hands so that the resin is easier to wash off, because I promise you, I'm going to wear gloves. I will still find it somewhere on my hands. These are silicone gloves. They're a little harder to put on with the oil on your hands, but I promise you it's totally worth it.
Yes, doctor.
It's time for your annual and cough.
I sure hope you spell that right.
Dad's getting his surgery.
Okay. Amazing Clear Cast Plus is pretty easy to use. What?
No, you're okay.
Oh, you look worried about something.
I am.
Yeah.
'Cause it's me.
Oh.
No?
Yeah, go ahead and check it. You want to make sure your surface is level, so I'm going to let Sean level my surface while I measure my resin. I don't need a lot of resin on this one, so I'm going to mix probably, it's equal parts mixture, parts A and part B. I'm going to do 2 cups of each of these.
Sorry. This is my cheating stick.
And I'm going to mix it in a clear cup. Sean's leveling my surface for me.
I need to move this. Are you okay with that?
Yep. I hate working in gloves. I find it's harder to, use my fingers. Like I always feel clumsy in a pair of gloves.
Do you have enough space?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I see that. I just need to put this back.
That cup is shiny, unlike most of yours.
Okay, this is my part A. Nothing is going to happen until these touch each other. So I can keep this in the cup as long as I want. This is a clear coating resin. So there's a difference. I use casting resin, which dries white and dries in 10 minutes. That's what I use for making resin molds on my furniture pieces. But I want to do a coating on here, so I'm going to use a clear coating resin. So casting resin and coating resin are very different things. This one's going to dry clear, and it takes about 24 hours. See what I mean? It's going to get stuck to something. I just dumped my pencils out.
Do you want me to grab the stuff?
That's a video edit.
I'm going to do the same thing. This is now part B. I'm going to tape the underside of that high chair and wrap the legs for me because I'm going to have extra resin.
You okay if I take that tape over there?
Yep.
Go ahead and look.
Okay, this does need to be very well mixed. With the casting resin, it sets up faster so you don't have as much stir time. This little tiny stir stick kind of stinks, so I'm going to use a popsicle stick that's longer. This stuff you have to sit and mix for a few minutes, okay? And make sure you do. You don't want to skimp on mixing. And you want to be pulling up from the bottom while you do. I can kind of tell because it looks swirly whether I'm done mixing or not. I'm going to go clockwise and counterclockwise. I'm going to scrape my sides. I'm going to pull up from the bottom. You want to mix this stuff really well. This has about a 45-minute open time, so I have plenty of time on this to do my stirring. Hey, Sass, do you know the torch that's inside for the fireplace? I'm going to go grab that for me. I forgot my torch. Stirring does introduce bubbles into your resin, but we're going to pop those with a torch. I have a little piece of something in here. I'm going to just get that to the side and get it out. Like a little black piece of lint or something. I just don't want that to go into my pour. Okay, scraping my sides one last time. Thank you, baby. I plan to do the tray on this high chair, and I'm also going to do the seat of the high chair in resin, so they'll be extra durable. All right, and I'm not going to use all of this, but I'm going to go ahead and coat my tray in my resin. And I've got excess left over, but it's got a 45-minute working time, so I can use that. I'll probably come back and use that on the seat.
How do you know how much resin to mix?
You start to get a feel for it, but there is a calculator, a surface area calculator on the Alumilite website. So if I needed to look, if I'm doing a dresser, and you can go in and it's accurate. And I can type in the measurements. You know, my dresser is 60 inches wide and 20 inches deep, and I want my resin to be a 1/4 inch thick, and it will tell you how much you need. I always get out something, like in this case I have coasters, so that if I have extra resin, I will pour it into a coaster. If I need to mix more resin, if I end up coming short, it's got that 45-minute open time, I can always mix more. If I really need to, I can just mix it. Now I'm only going right up to the edges of my tray. I'm going to fill in all of the center. And I don't worry about the edges until very, very last. If they're dripping right now, that's okay. I have a piece of cardboard underneath me. The most important thing about resin is just making sure that your area is prepared for it, because it will get everywhere. I'm using a silicone basting brush because resin doesn't stick to silicone. I can clean this off when I'm done. So silicone tools are really important. Once I feel like I've got it pretty covered, it's not going to be level, but this is a liquid, so it's going to continue to self-level. Once I've got it all over my surface.
What are you using to spread it?
This is a silicone basting brush. It's a kitchen tool. You can use a regular paintbrush, but you'll need to throw it away when you're done. So now that I've got my entire area covered, I'm going to come and I'm going to coat my edges. And if I need to, because this has it's lower in the center, I may need to pull some of my resin from the center to coat my edges. And it's going to start running. Once I coat those edges, it's going to start running over the edges. So that's why I do that last, because it's going to start dripping. And if you're still trying to work, especially if you're doing a large piece like a dresser, what I recommend is if you're just getting started with doing a resin pour, start with something small. Go get a tray. Get a tray from the Dollar Tree and pour into a tray. You want to go get that tray that's up there? Can you
I have a question first. How do you clean the basting brush?
I will let the resin dry on the basting brush, and then it's just going to crack away. I'll just crack it and the resin will break off. It gets, once it's dry, it's hard, it's brittle.
On this?
No, the ocean one that's up there. Okay, and I put that painter's tape around the edges of my high chair tray, so that the drip, it's going to form drips on the underside of my tray. I will come back in a little bit before this is fully dry, and I will scrape those. And I'll pull that painter's tape off, and it's going to pull those drips off with it. So here's a good example. This is a tray, just a really cheap tray from the Dollar Tree. And I practiced mixing color. I did this one on camera. I put sand in it. We did this kind of beachy look. But if you're doing this for your first time, don't start with your 5-foot long dresser the first time. Start with something small. So I'm just going around and making sure that I've got full coverage around the edges of my tray. Once I've got good coverage, I'm going to torch this. The torching is what's going to take out the air bubbles that are in the resin. You can use isopropyl alcohol, regular rubbing alcohol. Has to be 91% or higher.
Oh, that's why you got that.
Yeah, you can put it in a spray bottle, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and torch this. Okay, that let me see a couple areas that I want to smooth out a little bit. Right up here, I missed a spot with my resin. Once I do this, I will leave my work area for the night. Because every time you open a door and stuff, it's going to introduce dust. So once I have a pour that's drying, I leave my work area alone for the night. Okay, when I did that, I noticed a couple areas that I didn't have good coverage on. Because when you torch it, it makes the resin like glass, and you can see all the flaws in it. So I'm going to torch it again now that I moved it again. And that looks pretty good. I'm still within, I think I've got a piece of dust. I'm still within my 45-minute working time. So you have plenty of working time on this one. You'll start feel it getting kind of thick and sticky when it's time to walk away. It's a little harder when you're doing a full-size dresser to get it all done in that 45 minutes. Don't try to do multiple pieces at one time. Oh my gosh, I just dropped a piece of paper in my resin. See, something stuck on my glove. So now I'm going to touch that spot up. I need to pull a little bit of resin from my edge to bring some out here. When you're torching, you don't want to torch any one area for too long. You can burn your resin.
What does the torch do?
It takes all the air bubbles out. So you'll see it. It's hard to explain because it's really hard to catch on camera, especially since Facebook dumps down video quality, so there's no way I could get the video quality to show you guys. It'd have to be a YouTube video. Okay, I'm going to make one recommendation. I'm noticing on my transfer, there is a part of my transfer that my resin doesn't want to cover. I'm going to make it cover, but it's like 2 little dots. I think it's got an oil on the surface. I should have rubbed over that with some rubbing alcohol before I poured my resin on the transfer.
Do you know what to do when you go to pop the bubbles and it blows the resin?
It's okay if it moves your resin a little bit. You can use the isopropyl alcohol in like a mister bottle or a spray bottle instead. Alright, that looks pretty good. So my surface is level. I need to leave this alone. Okay, so I'm gonna do the seat on this high chair too, but I'm gonna let this drip around the edges. I'll come back in probably about 2 hours and I will just scrape the edges of this. And then when it's dry tomorrow, I'll just pull that tape off and I won't have any drip marks along those edges. So that's it, you guys. I've got my tray all decked out. It's really, really, really customized. Even if they didn't keep the high chair long term, this tray itself would be something that they could take off and keep from this high chair that has all of the information on it. So it kind of makes this a really sweet baby gift. All right. I'm just filling in a couple spots that didn't look totally even. I'm going to put a little bit more resin just right on this edge right here. And then I'll torch the bubbles again. That's it, you guys. That's all there is to coating a surface in resin. And you see how much custom work I was able to put into this. It could be a glitter top. Although glitter, the one thing I'll say is you usually have to do multiple coats because glitter adds texture to your resin.
When's Tana's baby due?
Mid-month, the 13th.
Mid this month.
15th.
Oh, yay. Dang.
But I think it's going to be early. I think it's going to be early. That's why I say any day now, because I think that baby's coming early. It's the second baby, so you know, usually your second one like speeds out like it's on a roller coaster.
Huh.
Sound familiar? AKA the child that's sitting right next to Sean right now.
So weird.
All right, I will torch that area one more time. I'm going to leave this alone. So what do you guys think? It's super cute, right? Now this is totally durable, and all of those finishes that I put on here are going to last a lifetime. More than clear coat, more than a wax, more than anything I could have put on here, that resin is going to protect all these finishes that are on here. So, you know, to go through a baby, I think that's about as safe as you get. That was fun, right? We did a lot of stuff. So I think this is furniture that is a mixed media project. I've got colored pencils on here. I've got a raised stencil. I've got a transfer. I've got paint. I've got resin. There are so many mediums on here that I'm calling this a mixed media project because it's...
And how long does it take for that to cure?
24 hours. So I'll come out tomorrow and this will be hardened. Now it will still be fragile for that first 48, but after 24 hours I can touch it. If I need to do a second coat, I usually will decide. I don't think this one will need a second coat, but I'll decide that tomorrow when I see it. Sometimes that second coat, which is just a flood coat just to perfect it, sometimes it can need that second coat, especially if you've got glitter in your resin. You will probably need to do a second coat. All right, you guys, I'm going to pop off since I've been on for a long time. Let's see, my YouTube video tomorrow I think is going to be, I did a comparison of primers, side-by-side comparison of a bunch of different primers, and I'm going to share that with you guys. And I think I'll have a furniture piece for you guys about midweek. It might be this piece right here. So check out my YouTube channel, Brush by Brandy. What else was I going to share with you guys? I think that's it. I will be coming to the UK in September, so that's the Painters Business Academy. We talked about that earlier tonight. If you guys haven't already, there's still tickets available. If you're in the UK, that's probably a once-in-a-lifetime chance that I'll be over there, so check those tickets out at Painters Business Academy. And I'll let you guys go. You guys have a great weekend.